Under the cold, harsh glare of the studio lights, the atmosphere feels tight, suffocating even. Every whisper dissolves into nothing. Every footstep halts mid-step. The red camera light pulses, a quiet heartbeat announcing, "We are live." At the center of the table, two figures sit locked in silent opposition. Stephen Miller leans forward, jaw tense, fingers drumming against the desk in a staccato rhythm that betrays a man rehearsing control he hasn't earned yet. Confidence radiates from him, or maybe overconfidence. Each smirk, each deliberate lean shouts, "I own this room." Across from him, Jasmine Crockett sits still, poised, calm. Her quiet presence is unnerving. It's not a surrender, it's strategy. Every second she holds her composure, stretches the air thin, turns expectation into tension. Her calm is precise, like a scalpel, cutting through noise and leaving only the truth behind. A long, loaded second stretches between them. No words, no movement. Even the air itself seems to hold its breath. Then a voice, low, steady, slices through the silence, subtle but impossible to ignore. Every disruption has a breaking point. Tonight, that limit is about to reveal itself. Crockett tilts her head, eyes scanning the table, her notes, and then Miller himself. Her gaze is sharp, measuring. She calculates the distance between arrogance and collapse with surgical accuracy. Miller clears his throat, adjusts his microphone, straightens his tie. He looks ready to command the conversation. But control, as he will soon learn, is fragile, fleeting. A construct that can vanish the moment someone refuses to play by your rules. The moderator begins to speak, attempting to anchor the debate. But the room's energy has already shifted. There's an edge to the silence, a weight in the waiting. Everyone senses it. Something is poised to fracture. The tension is almost imperceptible, yet undeniable, and then for just an instant time itself seems to crack. Crockett's voice, calm and deliberate, drifts ahead in the current of inevitability. "I was waiting for you to finish being wrong." The words hang, suspended like smoke, and the world dims. 12 minutes earlier. The debate begins quietly. Too quietly. No fireworks yet, only the faint spark of anticipation. Jasmine Crockett adjusts her microphone, leans forward just slightly, and begins. Calm, controlled, intentional. Her words align like arrows. Precise, clean, deliberate. She does not rush. She does not perform. She lays out evidence as if setting stones, each one irrefutable, each one firm. For a fleeting moment, Miller listens, or at least pretends to. Then, as if drawn by instinct, he cuts her off mid-sentence. His voice slices through hers, confident and loud, claiming territory he has no right to. A smile plays across his lips, the kind that tries to mask domination with charm. The audience reacts subtly. A shift of weight, a cough, a quiet adjustment in posture. They have seen this before. They know the pattern. Crockett pauses. She doesn't argue. She doesn't flinch. She blinks once, slow, deliberate, like a machine recalibrating after interference. The space between them crackles with unspoken energy, and then almost imperceptibly she nods. She lets him talk. Not surrender, but strategy. Miller continues, filling the room with his own voice, circling his points in a loop, oblivious to the trap he's walking into. Crockett watches still, her calm deepening, and it begins to gnaw at him. She's not reacting. She's observing him dig deeper into his own rhetoric, sentence by sentence. The moderator clears his throat, attempting to mediate. But Miller is relentless. Another interruption, another hand gesture, subtle but domineering. That's the second cut. The audience feels it. Crockett feels it too, yet she doesn't respond. She allows the silence to stretch, a quiet message embedded in her patience. "I see exactly what you're doing." Then she speaks, voice lower, firmer, unyielding. "May I finish?" Not a question, not a plea, an assertion, a reclamation of space. Miller smirks, pretending magnanimity, leaning back, signaling, "Go ahead." She resumes where she left off. Her words now flow with rhythm, measured precision, each sentence a sharp strike. And just before she reaches her next point, he interrupts again. Third cut. Some audience members react audibly. Soft groans, shifting seats, whispered murmurs. But Miller hears only his own echo. Crockett stops. Her eyes fix on him. Calm, not angry. Observant. She has transformed silence into a weapon. The moderator offers a subtle nod, a silent plea to restore order. Crockett leans in slightly, voice calm but colder now. "Mr. Miller," she states deliberately, I'll respond when you finish talking to yourself. The room stills. Miller's smile falters for a fraction of a second. This is resistance he cannot charm away. She turns slightly toward the moderator, then continues. Some of us were sent here to discuss solutions, not sound bites. A line that doesn't raise volume but lands with undeniable weight. Miller opens his mouth to interject, but the energy has shifted. The crowd is no longer his ally. The camera captures the contrast, her composure against his desperation, her stillness against his noise. The first cut was more than an interruption. It was Miller underestimating a woman who could weaponize patience. Crockett doesn't shout to dominate. She waits, calculates, and strikes at the exact moment when silence speaks louder than words ever could. The audience leans in, tension thick as the room's pulse quickens. What began as a debate has morphed into something far more intricate. A test of dominance, a chess match played in real time. Miller shuffles papers, grasping at fleeting control, while Crockett remains statuesque. A stillness that conveys quiet authority, not hesitation. Another attempt by the moderator. Congresswoman Crockett, please continue. She nods once, measured. Thank you. Her voice flows soft yet firm. She talks of accountability, evidence, procedure. Each word lands, calculated, deliberate. And yet, before her point can conclude, Miller strikes again. Fourth interruption. Quicker this time. A reflexive move masked as politeness. Crockett pauses mid-sentence, not out of confusion, but to let the sound of his own voice echo. Let arrogance reveal itself. Miller continues, louder now, piling words like bricks into a wall no one is climbing. The audience feels the tension. The imbalance is palpable. Crockett's hands remain folded, fingers interlaced, gaze unwavering. Every fiber of her being communicates, "Are you done yet?" But he isn't. Fifth cut. The audience murmurs, first softly, then louder. The control he clings to cracks, revealing insecurity beneath the practiced veneer. Finally, she exhales slowly, deliberately. Are you finished? Flat, polite, but with steel beneath the surface. The moderator looks caught between procedure and awe. She continues, measured, her composure now a tangible force pressing back against the chaos. You've interrupted me 5 times, Mr. Miller. That's 5 missed chances to listen. The crowd reacts, half in disbelief, half in admiration. Miller opens his mouth, but she has already reclaimed the moment. She sits taller, her calm now commanding. Interruption is not strength, she states softly but firmly. It is fear dressed up as confidence. The room shifts. The cameras pause. This is no longer a debate. It is an unmasking. Miller tries to speak, but the words die before they leave his lips. Her timing is flawless. She speaks right through his attempt, her tone unbroken. That's the thing about control, she continues. You can fake it for a while, but eventually it starts talking louder than your logic. The audience breaks into soft applause, hesitant, then growing. Crockett doesn't look at them. She doesn't need validation. The silence after her words is the validation. She glances toward the moderator, then back to Miller. Her expression hasn't changed since the beginning. Calm, grounded, certain. He shifts in his seat, the smirk fading now. For the first time, his body language betrays uncertainty. Hand tapping faster, eyes darting to the camera, then away. He interrupts one more time, a short, desperate attempt to claw back control. But this time she doesn't stop. Her voice cuts clean through his, not louder, just steadier. She finishes her sentence without breaking eye contact. The room goes still. No sound, no movement. Just the quiet power of a woman who refuses to be silenced. And then the voiceover returns, calm, reflective, certain. He thought talking over her would keep him on top. But control isn't volume, it's discipline. And the louder he spoke, the more everyone else started listening to her. The camera pans across the audience. Some whisper, some shake their heads. Phones are raised now. Someone's already streaming. The clip that will go viral tomorrow is being recorded right now. Crockett sits back, folds her notes, and looks at Miller for the first time with something close to pity. He looks back, trying to hold eye contact, but it slips like sand through fingers. And just before the moderator moves to the next question, her eyes narrow slightly. It's not anger, it's clarity. The kind of look that says, you've played your pattern, now I'll play mine. Because from this point forward, silence will not be his weapon. It will be hers. Something changes in the air. It's not loud, not visible, but everyone feels it. That invisible thread between tension and collapse tightens just a little more. Stephen Miller clears his throat. He's talking again. Faster now, layering point after point like someone trying to build a wall before the storm hits. His words start blending together, force without focus. Across from him, Jasmine Crockett doesn't move. Her eyes follow him the way a tide studies a rock, patient, certain it will wear down. He interrupts her for the fourth time. It isn't even subtle anymore. He leans in mid-sentence, cutting her clean off, hands slicing the air like punctuation. His voice rises. No, that's simply not accurate. And there it is, the shift. Because this time she doesn't blink. She exhales, slow and precise, like someone timing their heart with the rhythm of chaos. Then she straightens. The movement is small. A few inches of posture, but it redefines the room. Her shoulders square, her gaze locks. Every camera angle recalibrates around her. She lets him talk and talk and talk until Ivana starts to hear the echo of his own voice. Then she says, calm and clear, "Stephen, I understand interruption. It's what happens when truth makes people nervous." The room freezes. It isn't just what she said, it's how she said it. No volume, no venom, just truth delivered with surgical precision. Miller opens his mouth, ready to counter, but no words come out. Hestammers blinks twice, shifts in his seat. The mask of certainty slips for half a second, and that's all she needs. The moderator glances up, startled. He was about to step in, but now he doesn't dare. He knows this isn't his moment anymore. The audience reacts in waves, quiet gasps, then murmurs, then stillness again. Even the crew behind the cameras freeze, eyes darting toward one another as if silently agreeing. Keep rolling. Crockett doesn't move. She doesn't press the advantage. She just sits there, the calm in the middle of someone else's unraveling. When she finally speaks again, her tone is lighter, almost conversational. "I'm not here to out-talk you, Stephen. I'm here to outlast you." That line lands differently. It doesn't just silence him. It humbles the space. The crowd feels it. The cameras capture it. Even the lights seem to dim as if the room itself wants to listen. He tries to smile, to shake it off with forced humor, but the rhythm is gone. Confidence has become noise. Noise has become background, and she has become the focus. Her eyes narrow slightly. "See, the thing about control," she says softly, "is that real control doesn't interrupt. It waits." The moderator sits back, almost relieved that someone has finally said it out loud. Crockett looks down at her notes, not to check them, but to let silence do the rest. It's the kind of silence that burns, the kind that exposes more than any statement could. For the first time, Miller looks unsettled. He glances at the moderator, then at the audience, searching for something. Approval, rescue, anything. But the energy in the room has shifted. He's no longer the center, she is. The camera captures the transformation. Not dramatic, not cinematic, but inevitable. Power doesn't flip like a switch, it seeps, and in that moment, it's already hers. Crockett leans slightly forward. Her voice drops lower, steadier. "You interrupted me 4 times, Stephen. That's 4 missed chances to learn something you clearly needed to hear." He opens his mouth again, but this time the moderator cuts him off. "Mr. Miller, let's give the Congresswoman her time." The irony lands like a gavel. Even he can hear it. Crockett continues unbothered. She's not performing. She's teaching, effortlessly turning confrontation into demonstration. "You keep mistaking interruption for impact," she says, "but they're not the same thing. One fills silence, the other fills meaning." Her words hang in the air. A quiet ripple of applause starts, hesitant at first, then grows scattered, sincere. Miller looks around, confused by the sound of approval that isn't his. He tries to smile again, but the charm has thinned out. He's repeating himself now. Phrases, statistics. The same talking points that once commanded attention but now fall flat in the shadow of her stillness. The moderator's eyes flick to the clock. Not out of duty, but to mark the moment, because everyone knows what they're witnessing isn't just a debate. It's the exact second power changed hands. Crockett ends her thought quietly. Real composure isn't silence. It's control over when you decide to use your voice. She sits back, hands folded. No smirk, no showmanship, just certainty. Miller doesn't interrupt this time. He can't. The crowd is watching, waiting, measuring his next move. Even he knows any word he says now will sound smaller. The voiceover returns. Calm, measured, final. He built his power on interruption. She built hers on patience. And when patience finally spoke, interruption had nothing left to say. A single clap starts somewhere in the audience, then another, then the wave. Phones rise like constellations. The clip is already rewriting itself into history. Crockett glances toward the moderator, gives a slight nod, and the tiniest hint of a smile. Not victory, closure. Because sometimes the loudest moment in a room isn't the one that's shouted. It's the one that makes everyone else stop talking. By now, the pattern is clear. The crowd has seen it. The moderator has seen it. And Jasmine Crockett, she's memorized it. Every time she speaks, he cuts her off. Every time he interrupts, she grows calmer. What was once confidence on his face is now something else entirely. Nervous repetition. Stephen Miller adjusts his notes again. His hand trembles slightly, just enough for the camera to notice. He clears his throat as if to reset the rhythm. But the room's rhythm doesn't belong to him anymore. Crockett watches him, silent, patient. Her stillness is unnerving. It's the kind of quiet that amplifies every sound. The creak of a chair, the flicker of a light, the faint hum of electricity under pressure. Then he does it again, the sixth interruption. He leans forward, voice rising. "Congresswoman, you can't ignore the facts." But this time, his interruption feels different. It's desperate, unsteady. The words rush out of him like a man trying to plug a leak with noise. She doesn't move, doesn't blink, doesn't even glance at the moderator. The audience, sensing the shift, guslant. Everyone knows this is the one that breaks it. Crockett straightens lightly, folds her hands, and looks directly at him. The expression on her face isn't anger. It's almost sympathy. When she speaks, her voice is calm. Even each word deliberate, clean, perfectly aimed. "Mr. Miller," she says, "you've interrupted me 6 times now. And each time I've given you the courtesy of finishing your sentence even when you weren't saying much." The room reacts before he can. Soft laughter, stifled gasps. The moderator looks down, pretending to read his notes. Miller tries to respond, but she continues right through him, steady and unbroken. "You came here to talk," she says. But what you don't realize is that talking isn't the same thing as contributing. Her tone is smooth. Not defensive, not confrontational, clinical. She's dissecting him in real time with precision and composure. He raises his hand to interrupt again. A reflex, but something stops him. The crowd, the silence, her gaze. He lowers it halfway, unsure. That's when she tilts her head slightly and the entire tone of the room changes. "You've mistaken interruption for authority," she says. But authority isn't about who speaks louder. It's about who still gets heard when everyone else stops shouting. That line lands like a pin drop. Every sound in the room fades behind it. He looks stunned, like the words hit harder than he expected. It's not just an argument anymore. It's a mirror, and he's seeing his reflection in it for the first time. Crockett pauses, then continues softer. "I let you talk, Stephen, because sometimes the best way to prove a point is to let someone prove it for you." Her tone never shifts. It stays calm, almost compassionate. And that's what makes it devastating. Miller sits back. The color drains slightly from his face. He forces a laugh, but it doesn't land. The audience isn't laughing with him. They're watching him unravel. The moderator looks at him, then at her, and says quietly, "Go ahead, Congresswoman." It's subtle, but everyone catches it. The balance has officially flipped. She nods once in acknowledgement, then leans slightly toward her mic. "See," she says, "you've been trying to control this conversation the same way you try to control the narrative. By interruption, not by substance. Each word is precise, each sentence sharper than the last. But interruption," she continues, "isn't dominance. It's panic. It's the moment when the truth gets too close and the only thing left to do is make noise. There's a collective exhale in the audience. The kind of breath people hold when they know they're witnessing something they'll replay later. She looks directly at him now, voice low but unwavering. "So go ahead, interrupt again if you need to, but understand this. Every time you do, you make my point louder." He doesn't speak, not a word. For the first time all night, Stephen Miller is silent, and in that silence she wins. Not by shouting, not by force, by making him realize that interruption only works when the other person reacts. And she never did. The moderator clears his throat softly. "Congresswoman Crockett, you may finish your statement." She smiles faintly, but it's not triumph, it's closure. Her final words for the segment glide through the air like precision glass. When someone's afraid of the truth, they talk over it. But the truth doesn't need volume. It just waits until the noise burns itself out. The audience applauds slowly at first, then louder, swelling into a steady rhythm that fills the room. Phones rise again. Cameras flash. Miller looks down at his notes, but they're useless now. The narrative is gone. He's no longer steering the conversation. He's the example of it. Crockett gathers her papers, perfectly calm. Not a hair out of place, not a hint of gloating. She said everything she needed to and more. And then Orator's voice returns, steady, reflective. He thought the sixth interruption would silence her. Instead, it silenced him because real power doesn't argue with noise. It turns noise into proof. The applause grows louder. The cameras stay locked on her. And in that final frame, she doesn't smile. She simply exhales as if releasing the last bit of tension that never belonged to her in the first place. The silence after her last line doesn't fade. It evolves. At first it's disbelief, then recognition, and finally respect. The studio, once filled with restless murmurs and tension, now feels suspended, frozen in that rare kind of moment where everyone knows they've just witnessed something bigger than debate. The first sound comes from somewhere in the back, a single clap, sharp, solitary. It echoes through the air like a spark in the dark, then another, and within seconds the room erupts. Applause rolling like a wave. Phones rise, cameras flash, people lean forward, capturing not just her words but her composure. Because it wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it. Jasmine Crockett doesn't move right away. She stays perfectly still, her hands resting on the table, her expression unchanged. No smile, no gloat, just calm, the kind that speaks louder than any victory speech ever could. Across from her, Stephen Miller sits frozen, his smirk gone, his rehearsed certainty fractured. He looks like a man realizing too late that control can't survive when truth takes the mic. The moderator clears his throat, papers rustling nervously. He tries to speak, but his voice catches. Even he feels the weight of the shift. Thank you, Congresswoman. He finally manages, but the words barely register. The applause only grows louder. People aren't clapping for performance. They're clapping for poise, for precision, for that rare kind of power that doesn't need to shout to fill a room. Crockett finally leans back, exhales, and glances at the crowd. There's no pride in her eyes, only a quiet satisfaction like a teacher watching a lesson finally understood. The narrator's voice enters softly, almost reflective. Power doesn't always come with sound. Sometimes it arrives as silence, the kind that demands to be respected. Miller shifts in his seat. He tries to speak to regain ground, but every attempt sounds smaller now, stripped of authority. The audience isn't listening to him anymore. They've turned. One camera pans slowly across the crowd. Rows of faces illuminated by blue studio light. Some are smiling, some stunned. Others just nod quietly as if they've witnessed a truth that doesn't need translation. On the second row, someone whispers, "She didn't raise her voice once." The person beside them replies, "She didn't have to." Those words ripple through the audience like a second wave. Softer, but even more powerful. By the time Miller finally finds his footing, the room already belongs to her. His voice comes out strained, trying for composure, but landing somewhere between defiance and defeat. "Well," he says, forcing a thin smile, "I suppose we're redefining professionalism tonight." It's meant as a jab. It lands as proof. Crockett turns to him still unbothered and replies evenly, "No, Stephen, we're redefining interruption. The laughter this time isn't mocking. It's liberating. The kind that bursts out when someone finally says what everyone else was thinking." Miller glances toward the moderator, looking for rescue. None comes. Even he seems to have surrendered to the moment. Crockett gathers her notes, the faint rustle cutting through the applause. She stands smooth, unhurried. The audience watches her rise like a tide, steady, unstoppable. When she finally speaks again, it isn't to gloat or continue the argument. It's to end it. "I came here to discuss facts," she says. But somewhere between the interruptions, the truth got louder than the noise. That line hits like a closing door, soft, final, unanswerable. The camera zooms in tight on her face. No makeup sheen, no forced expression, just a calm certainty, the kind you can't rehearse. In the control room, a producer whispers to another, "Mark that timestamp." That's the clip. They already know it's about to go viral. Online, seconds later, the feeds light up. Phones buzz. Hashtags form like wildfire. Share Crockett calm. Yasik interruptions. Shod truth whines quietly. Clips replay. The line spreads. "I wasn't interrupting you, Stephen. I was waiting for you to finish being wrong." It becomes a rhythm. Quoted, remixed, repeated, a single sentence dismantling an entire performance of dominance. Back in the studio, the applause still hasn't stopped. Crockett thanks the moderator, nods politely to Miller, and steps away from the table. Her steps are measured. No rush, no retreat. She walks like someone who doesn't just win moments. She defines them. The narrator's voice returns, steady, resonant. In a world addicted to volume, she reminded everyone that clarity is louder. As she exits the frame, Miller sits alone beneath the same lights that once made him look powerful. Now they make him look exposed. He adjusts his tie again, searching for composure that won't return. The moderator looks toward the camera, offering a closing line that no one will remember because the audience isn't listening anymore. Their eyes follow her. The woman who didn't just defend her space, she reclaimed it. In the hallway outside, our porter catches her briefly. "Congresswoman Crockett, that was incredible. Did you plan that final line?" She smiles. The first real one of the night. "No," she says simply. "He gave it to me." The reporter laughs softly. Crockett continues walking into the corridor, light into the future replay loops that will spin this moment into legend. And as the door closes behind her, the narrator's voice delivers the final thought. She didn't shout him down. She outlasted him. Because real strength doesn't fight for attention, it commands silence. The moment lingers, the applause still echoing faintly in the rafters long after the cameras stop rolling. But some sounds don't fade, they stretch. They travel. They become history replayed in real time. Backstage, the air feels different. Producers move fast, headsets buzzing, but even they pause to replay what just happened. On every monitor, the same image loops. Jasmine Crockett's calm face as the world erupts around her. Stephen Miller remains seated in the studio, still facing the empty chair she left behind. The noise has died down, but the silence that follows feels louder. It's not the silence of defeat. It's the silence of realization. He runs a hand through his hair, forces a smile that never quite forms, and whispers to himself, "She set me up for that, didn't she?" Maybe she did. Or maybe she just waited for gravity to do its work. Outside the studio, the world is already reacting. Clips circulate faster than headlines can keep up. Within minutes, Gar Crockett calm trends worldwide. Commentators, influencers, and late-night hosts all chase the same quote. "I wasn't interrupting you, Stephen. I was waiting for you to finish being wrong. But what makes it viral isn't just the burn. It's the balance." Her voice wasn't angry. Her delivery wasn't loud. It was measured. Every word felt carved like marble, deliberate, permanent. The narrator's voice enters softly, as if from the future. In the age of shouting, her whisper carried further. Clips replay across every platform. Slow motion, zoomed in, subtitles added. Comment sections fill with disbelief, admiration, and a single shared sentiment. That's how you handle arrogance. News anchors discuss the moment of composure. Analysts dissect her tone like a masterclass in control. And somewhere between the outrage and the applause, something universal merges. People remember what restraint looks like. Cut back to Jasmine Crockett sitting quietly in her dressing room. No entourage, no victory dance, just her reflection staring back through the mirror's soft light. Her phone vibrates relentlessly. Hundreds of missed messages, mentions from colleagues, strangers, critics, supporters, but she doesn't reach for it right away. Instead, she exhales a long, grounding breath. The door opens. Her assistant peeks in, eyes wide. "You broke the internet," she says. Crockett smiles faintly. "No," she replies. "Truth did." The assistant laughs softly, then adds, "They're calling it the calmest takedown in political history." Crockett shakes her head. "There's nothing calm about being interrupted 6 times, she says. But there's power in deciding which one to answer. Cut to a split-screen montage. Talk shows debating, headlines scrolling, tweets flashing across screens. Each version looping the same 12 seconds. Her final line. And somewhere in that storm of commentary, the truth quietly anchors itself. It wasn't just a debate. It was a demonstration that control isn't volume. It's presence. That dominance without discipline collapses the moment it's challenged by composure. Miller appears again briefly, exiting the studio with forced politeness. Reporters crowd around him. Mics thrust forward. "Mr. Miller, any comment on Congresswoman Crockett's response?" Hephases, straightens his jacket and replies, "She's passionate. I'll give her that." Then he walks away fast. The cameras linger, but the story has already left him behind. The narrator's voice returns. He wanted the last word. She gave him the last lesson. Back online, the clip surpasses 10 million views in hours. People begin quoting it in captions, remixes, speeches, even classrooms. For some, it's entertainment. For others, empowerment. But for many, especially women who've been talked over, dismissed, or interrupted, it feels personal. Comment after comment reads the same. She said what we've all wanted to say. Crockett finally picks up her phone, scrolling through the avalanche of notifications. A message from her mentor catches her eye. It reads, "Grace under pressure isn't silence. It's timing." She smiles. Her fingers hover over the keyboard before she types a short reply. "Timing's everything." She sets the phone down and closes her eyes just for a moment. Not to rest, to reset. Outside, the hallway hums with movement. Staff congratulating her, cameras waiting. Sound texts packing up. But inside she sits still again. That same eerie calm from the beginning, the calm that unnerves and commands. The camera pans out slowly, framing her against the mirror's reflection. Two Jasmines, one who endured the interruptions and one who defined the silence afterward. Then the narrator's voice, deeper now, delivers the closing truth. She didn't win because she was louder. She won because she refused to compete for noise. The screen cuts to black and white footage. The final moment of the exchange. Miller's face tight with frustration. Her face composed, steady. The words echo again, crystal clear. One last time. I wasn't interrupting you, Stephen. I was waiting for you to finish being wrong. The crowd's reaction plays in slow motion. The gasp, the applause, the wave of realization. The camera freezes on her final expression. Calm, centered, complete. And over that still frame, the final narration fades in. Some victories are measured in applause, others in silence, but the rarest kind, the one where silence belongs to you, a brief pause, then the heartbeat returns. Slow, steady, confident. The heartbeat fades out. Only her words remain. Faint, distant, eternal. Truth doesn't argue. It waits.